We're going to go through the 6 classes that are in Wonderlands at launch. We have STABBOMANCER, SPORE WARDEN, SPELLSHOT, GRAVEBORN, CLAWBRINGER, and BRR-ZERKER. Please like and subscribe, as well as see my other videos for more Wonderlands info and gameplay. STABBOMANCERs are sneaky, critical hit-focused assassins who summon magic-whirling blades to the battlefield and disappear into the shadows at will. STABBOMANCER's class feat is Dirty Fighting. The Fate Maker's critical hit chance is increased. I'm not going to go over the percentage amounts and all that kind of stuff. You guys can see that on the screen, obviously. I will read out the descriptions just so it's a little bit easier in case anybody's looking for that. But obviously you can pause at any time and see the actual numbers if you want to go that route. Alright, the first ability is Ghost Blade. The Fate Maker throws out a Ghost Blade which spins in place, dealing melee damage periodically to nearby enemies based on the Fate Maker's equipped melee weapon. Pressing G while the Ghost Blade is active causes it to teleport to the target location and reduces its remaining duration by a small percentage. From the shadows, the Fate Maker enters stealth, turning invisible. While in stealth, all damage dealt is automatically a critical hit, but critical hits deal reduced damage. Arsenal. Melee damage, spell damage, gun damage is increased. Haste. Melee attack and movement speeds increased whenever the Fate Maker casts a spell. This bonus is doubled for a duration. Potent poison. Status effect effect damage and status effect duration is increased. Follow up. Whenever the Fate Maker deals gun damage to an enemy, the Fate Maker's next melee attack deals increased damage. This effect can stack. Melee attacks consume all stacks. Swift Death. While moving, the Fate Maker gains increased damage dealt. The faster they move, the greater these bonuses. Exploit their weakness. Whenever the Fate Maker applies a status effect to an enemy, the affected enemy takes increased damage from all sources for its duration. This effect can stack per unique status effect. Nimble Fingers. Whenever the Fate Maker deals melee damage, their fire rate and spell damage are increased for a duration. Shadow Step. Kill Skill. Fate Maker's next melee attack is a guaranteed critical hit for a short duration. Sneak Attack. Critical hit damage is increased. Elusive. Fate Maker can now shoot and sprint at the same time. The Fate Maker gains a chance to evade incoming damage while moving. The faster they move, the greater the bonus. Whenever the Fate Maker applies a status effect, there's a chance it spreads to nearby enemies. If no enemy are nearby, apply a different random status effect to the initial enemy instead. Critical hits grant increased damage dealt for a duration. This effect can stack. Melee critical hits grant additional stacks. Chemical Agent. Melee critical hits apply a random status effect. And last, we have Executioner's Blade. Gun and spell critical hits have a chance to create an ethereal blade above the target that will impale them after a short delay. Ethereal blades deal melee damage based on the Fate Maker's equipped melee weapon.
Truly, this...
Spore Wardens are masters of nature who summon tornadoes and launch volleys of arcane arrows into enemy lines alongside their toxin-spewing mushroom companion. We have the Spore Warden. You can get a kind of quick look here at the mushroom companion. Very well designed, we will say. As for the skills, we start with the mushroom companion for the class feat. Fate Maker is accompanied by a mushroom companion that targets nearby enemies and deals poison damage. Pinging an enemy will cause the mushroom companion to lunge towards the target. I actually didn't know that. Any increase in Fate Maker's damage also applies to their companions. Their first ability itself, the Fate Maker summons an ethereal bow, firing 7 arrows that deal ability damage on impact. Arrows ricochet twice between nearby enemies. Barrage has multiple charges. Increase to gun damage apply to damage dealt by barrage. Fate Maker creates 3 frost cyclones for duration that seek out nearby enemies, dealing frost ability damage over time. First set of abilities we have Bounty of the Hunt. The kill skill. Action skill cooldown rate is increased for a brief duration. Companion health and companion damage increase with Kindred Heart. Eagle Eye increases your gun damage and gun handling. Second set we have is Affinity. Ability damage is increased. Or Cloud. The Mushroom Companion will occasionally let one rip, taunting enemies and leaving a poison cloud that deals damage over time for duration. Bullseye. Gun critical hit chance is increased, and companion critical hit chance is increased. This is pretty big, the amount that you can stack that to. Quiver of Holding. Magazine size increased. Fate Maker's currently equipped weapon regenerates ammo over time. Medicinal Mushroom. While the Fate Maker is in Save Your Soul, their Mushroom Companion will attempt to revive them. If it does, they and their companion gain increased damage dealt for duration. Cool. Definitely a good solo class then. Kill skill. Movement speed and fire rate is increased for duration. This effect can stack. Thrill the Hunt. Gun critical hits grant increased companion damage for duration. That can stack. Called Shot. While aiming down sights, Fatemaker gains increased gun damage and damage resistance each second. Wrath of Nature. Whenever the Fatemaker deals ability damage to an enemy, the affected enemy takes increased damage from all sources for a duration. Headhunter. Gun damage dealt to critical hit areas is increased. Really, really cool abilities right there. Then we have the last one, Play the Angles. Fatemaker's gun critical hits have a chance to ricochet, dealing reduced ability damage to a nearby enemy. Ricocheted shots have a small chance to ricochet an additional time. Wow. So that could be very, very interesting. And that is the Spore Warden. Graveborn are Death Touch acolytes who sacrifice health to unleash devastating dark magic attacks and become the phantasmal Reaper of Bones, accompanied by their manic demi-lich companion. Now we have my sort of main character that I was playing on the early copy with. I started as a Graveborn with this character, not really knowing what I was doing. Still don't really. However, I have Graveborn and SPELLSHOT now. So I'm going to go through Graveborn and SPELLSHOT one by one here, and you guys can get an idea of how that is. If you're looking for abilities and how they look or what they do and, you know, so on and so forth, I will probably have a video at some point here with a later, a later map area that I did with this character in particular, and you'll be able to see some of the abilities and such there. I might even go back and maybe run through the zone and such and make a little thing of the different ones, because I kind of stuck to the same ones while I was doing it. But without further ado, let's get into it. So Graveborn starts with the Demi-Lich Companion. The Fatemaker is accompanied by a floating Demi-Lich Companion that targets enemies at range and deals dark magic damage. Whenever the Fatemaker casts a spell, the Demi-Lich will cast Hellish Blast, creating a homing projectile that spells elemental type, dealing damage to nearby enemies on impact. Any increased Fatemaker's damage also applies to the companions. That's also this guy right here. As you can see, he also changes colors and such, I believe, based off of what I'm wearing for my colors. I thought it was a cool little feature. Alright. First ability. Fatemaker sacrifices a portion of her health to deal dark magic ability damage and apply dark magic side effects to all nearby enemies. The higher sacrifice deals bonus damage based on the amount of sacrificed health. That one's a very interesting one to start with, I'll tell you that much. Reaper of Bones. The Fatemaker is fully healed, gains increased leech efficiency, deals bonus magic damage, dark magic damage, but her health takes an ever-increasing amount of damage per second. The Fatemaker would die. She instead becomes invulnerable for a short duration and restores a portion of her health. When she is no longer invulnerable, Reaper of Bones ends. Action skill duration is based on current health percentage and cannot be modified by other sources. Alright, first set of Graveborn. Mortal Vessel. Maximum health and dark magic efficiency is increased. Essence Drain. It's a kill skill. Spell cooldown rates increased for duration. Faithful Thralls. The Fatemaker deals increased damage dealt for every companion she has. Companion respawn rate is increased. Sanguine Sacrament. Whenever the Fatemaker casts a spell, she regenerates health over a brief duration. Dark Pact. Dark magic damage is increased. Harvest. Kill skill for companions. Deal bonus dark magic damage for duration. This effect can stack. Dread Covenant. A portion of the damage taken by the Fatemaker is redirected to her Demi-Lich. When the Fatemaker reaches 1 health, she immediately restores health, sacrificing Demi-Lich. This skill has a long cooldown. Bane of the Soul. The Fatemaker spells deal bonus dark magic damage. Dark Hydra. Kill skill. Chance to summon a Dark Hydra's companion, dealing dark magic ability damage to nearby enemies for duration. That one's really, really fun. Ascension. Kill skill. Maximum health and spell damage increase for a long duration. This effect can stack. Punishment. When the Demi-Lich casts Hellish Blast, there's a chance it will cast again after a brief delay. Lord of Edges. The Fatemaker gains increased damage dealt and damage reduction to lower her health. Blast Gasp. Whenever the Fatemaker deals spell damage, there's a chance she will create an elemental explosion, Dealing ability damage of the spell's elemental type to nearby enemies. Elemental explosion cannot critically hit. And then the last one we have is Morhaime's. Yeah, something like that. Blessing. Casting a spell automatically activates all Fate Maker's kill skills. And obviously there was quite a few of them there. Alright, now in the spell shot tree, I haven't really tested very much of it because I kind of clicked the tree, not really thinking about it, and then just kind of stuck with it, but I didn't really put any points into it. There's only a couple that I have here, so. Spell shots are gun-toting wizards who can unleash a constant barrage of spells and bullets and transform their enemies into harmless livestock with a snap of a finger. Spell weaving. Cast a spell or reloading grants Fate Maker a stack of spell weaving. Increasing spell damage. Spell weaving stacks automatically decay after a few seconds. Casting a repeating spell has a chance to award additional spell weaving stacks each repeating cast. Polymorph. Fate Maker turns enemy into a sheep for a few seconds. If they are immune, the Fate Maker instantly casts a free spell on that enemy and gains 2 stacks of spell weaving. While Polymorph is active, the Fate Maker and her allies have a chance to cast a free spell after dealing gun damage to the Polymorph target. This effect is guaranteed the first time the Fate Maker deals gun damage. After the Fate Maker casts a spell, in this way, she gains a stack of spell weaving. So lots of cool weaving things you can do with that. Ambihextrous. Fate Maker may equip a second spell in her inventory. Whenever the Fate Maker presses G, she casts that spell. That's what I've had on for a little while now. Spell Sniper. Spell critical hit chance is increased. Magic Bullets. Portion of all increases the Fate Maker receives of spell damage are also applied to her gun damage. Wow, that's a hard word to say. Nation. Reload speed is increased. Font of Mana. Spell cooldown rate and action skill cooldown rate are increased. Mage Armor. Whenever the Fate Maker gains a stack of spell weaving, a portion of her ward is restored. Warming up. Fate Maker gains increased fire rate for every stack of spell weaving. Blast Cannon. The Fate Maker no longer automatically recharges her ward, but she gains drastically increased spell damage. Imbued Weapon. Whenever the Fate Maker deals or casts a spell, her guns deal bonus damage to that spell's element for a duration. This effect stacks once for each spell equipped. High thread count. Max spell weaving stacks are increased. Warcaster. Kill skill. Whenever the Fate Maker kills an enemy, there's a chance her currently equipped gun will be instantly reloaded. This chance is increased per stack of spell weaving. Double Knot. Whenever the Fate Maker scores a critical hit with a spell, she deals bonus gun damage of her gun's element. 1 slot, 1 kill. The Fate Maker gains increased gun damage per attack of spell weaving. And last, we have Sever the Thread. Gun critical hits have a chance to instantly reset all spell cooldowns. This skill has a short cooldown. Clawbringers are faithful warriors who bring down thunder and flames upon their enemies with a spectral hammer alongside their fire-breathing wyvern companion. Now we have the Clawbringer. Clawbringer's class feat is the Wyvern Companion. Accompanied by a Wyvern Companion that flies through the environment and attacks enemies with its claws and fire breath. Any increased Fate Maker's damage also applies to the companion, which is so far pretty much on all the companions. Cleansing Flames. The Fate Maker summons their hammer and slams it in the ground, dealing melee damage and creating a massive fire nova, dealing fire ability damage to nearby enemies. And the other ability, Storm Dragon's Judgment. Fate Maker summons their hammer and hurls it, dealing lightning melee damage to all enemies it touches. It sticks wherever it lands and deals lightning ability damage every second to all nearby enemies. Pressing G recalls the hammer, damaging enemies along its path, ending the action skill early, and refunding a portion of the cooldown. Alright, first set of talents here. Oath of Fire. The Fate Maker's gun damage and their Wyvern Companion deal bonus fire damage. Fate Maker gains increased maximum ward capacity. Fate Maker's melee damage and their Wyvern Companion deal bonus lightning damage. Dragon Aura. Fate Maker is surrounded by an aura that grants themselves and all allies increased elemental damage. Dedication. The Fate Maker gains increased action skill cooldown rate based on the remaining ward. The greater the remaining ward, the greater the value. Rebuke. Fate Maker gains increased damage reduction. Additionally, all damage dealt to allies is reflected to the attacker as a lightning ability of damage. That's pretty cool. Blast Helmet's favor. Kill skill. Killing an enemy with a gun, or whenever the Wyvern Companion kills an enemy with a breath attack, summons a fire orb that seeks out a new enemy, dealing fire ability damage. Killing an enemy with melee damage, or whenever the Wyvern Companion kills an enemy with its claws, summons a lightning orb that seeks out a new enemy, dealing lightning ability damage. Pretty awesome. Firebolt. The Wyvern Companion will occasionally shoot firebolts at enemies, causing fire damage in an area of impact and dealing fire damage over time in the area for a brief duration. Additionally, the Fatemaker gains increased gun damage. Fatemaker's Wyvern... Friend of Flame. Fatemaker's Wyvern Companion gains increased damage dealt. Storm Breath. Wyvern Companion will occasionally use Lightning Breath on enemies, dealing lightning damage that can arc from enemy to enemy. Additionally, Fatemaker gains increased damage reduction. Awe. After dealing fire damage, the Fatemaker gains increased critical hit damage for a short duration. After dealing lightning damage, the Fatemaker gains increased critical hit chance for a duration. And I will say that those values seem kind of backwards. Usually you would get much less crit for that amount of crit damage, but that's pretty crazy. Indomitable. Fatemaker would enter Save Your Soul. Instead, they instantly refill their ward and deal bonus lightning damage for a short duration. This skill has a long cooldown.
Slay evil with today?
Storm Smite. Whenever the Fatemaker activates their action skill, they call down elemental bolts that deal fire ability damage or lightning ability damage to nearby enemies. This skill has a long cooldown. Berserkers are tenacious, frost-infused bruisers who complement their firepower with an onslaught of brutal, up-close and personal melee attacks. And last, we have the Berserker. Berserker's class feat is Rage of the Ancients. On an action skill start, the Fatemaker becomes enraged. While enraged, they deal bonus frost damage for a duration. Enraged duration will not deplete while an action skill is active and ends if the Fatemaker enters Save Your Soul. Activating an action skill when already enraged restores a portion of the enraged timer. Dreadwind. The Fatemaker spins, dealing melee damage periodically to nearby enemies based on the Fatemaker's equipped melee weapon, getting increased movement speed and slow immunity for a duration. Fatemaker may press G again to cancel the action skill, and refunding a portion of the cooldown. Increase the ability to damage, apply damage dealt by Dreadwind. Feral Surge. The Fatemaker leaps toward their target, dealing frost ability damage to all nearby enemies. Any non-boss enemy's damage will be instantly killed if the total HP is below a percentage. If Feral Surge kills an enemy, its cooldown is reset. Could be pretty cool. Ancestral Frost. Frost damage is increased. Savagery. Melee damage and enraged duration is increased. Unyielding. A percentage of missing health regenerates over time. While enraged, this effect is doubled. Icebreaker. Fatemaker gains increased damage dealt to enemies that are slowed. The closer an enemy is to being fully frozen, the more damage that is dealt. Fatemaker deals bonus damage and gains increased damage reduction the closer they are to the enemy. The closer the enemy is, the greater the bonus. Instinct. Reload speed and weapon swap speed is increased. While enraged, its effect is doubled. Cold Snap. Movement speed and frost efficiency is increased. While enraged, its effect is doubled. Unarmored Defense. A portion of Fatemaker's ward is reserved and cannot be restored, but their maximum health is increased. Health can no longer be reserved. Blood Frenzy. Kill skill. A portion of Fatemaker's active enraged timer and a percentage of their maximum health are restored. Ancient Fury. Maximum health is increased. Area damage is increased. Relentless Rage. Dealing damage while in Save Your Soul partially restores the Save Your Soul meter. The more damage is dealt, the greater the restoration. Restoration amount is decreased over time. Killing an enemy while in Save Your Soul will cause Fatemaker to become enraged. Last Chill. Whenever the Fatemaker deals melee damage to an enemy, there's a chance to release a Frost Nova, dealing frost ability damage to nearby enemies. Frost Nova cannot critically hit. Iron Squall. Fire rates increase, melee attack speeds increase. While enraged, the effect is doubled. Blood of the Fallen. Kill skill. The Fatemaker's remaining action skill cooldown is reduced by a percentage. If their action skill is currently active, restore a percentage of its duration instead. Quite a few different mixes in that pool of options as well. Hopefully you enjoyed this in-depth class look of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and I will see you in the next video.